Good evening. Our top story this week, the Boy Scouts of America release years' worth of records documenting how they helped child molesters cover up their crimes all across the USA, including 23 cases in Minnesota and another 46 cases in Maine. In Texas this week, a CPS agent closes a case 6 days before a malnourished toddler died in a urine-soaked bed even though she hadn't paid the home a visit in almost a year. Now police are investigating why the CPS agents didn't do their job in the case, and to check to see if there was any evidence tampering in the case, while a former Texas CPS agent alleges that document tampering wasn't at all uncommon at the Abilene CPS office. In Tennessee, the system sucks are upset over the amount of time it takes to answer calls to the child abuse hotline, so they decide to replace the director of the DCS call center. In Pennsylvania, as the legislative session comes to a close, system sucks are worried that nothing is being done to improve the state's child welfare system in light of the Jerry Sandusky case. And Jerry Sandusky himself is asking the judge to overturn his child sex convictions and grant him a new trial, claiming that his lawyers lack sufficient time to prepare an adequate defense. In California, Governor Jerry Brown signs legislation to prevent the kids of illegal immigrants from being thrown into foster care when the parents are deported. In Indiana, dozens of people complain about the child protective industry during a legislative session. In Montana, a measure is being put on the ballot to require minors to notify their parents before getting an abortion. And in Florida, the bodies of nearly 50 unidentified kids are found buried in a secret graveyard tucked behind a reform school. In Nevada, the child protective industry in Clark County is blaming the family court system for dragging ass in regards to the very low number of adoptions from the foster care system last year. In West Virginia, foster kids are still being thrown out onto the street as soon as they turn 18. And schools and doctors are taking issue with flaming hot Cheetos as the addictive snacks are leading to unnecessary emergency room visits, since they are causing kids to have what appears to be bloody stools, but fortunately is only a reaction to the food coloring. In Ireland, a real mother has to go through the process of adopting her own kid just so her new husband can do so. In New Zealand, a database of 20 to 30,000 children selected by a predictive risk model created by the government is raising concerns. In Pakistan, allegations that children were sexually abused and exposed to pornography by CPS agents and Child Welfare Bureau could not be substantiated by investigators. Russian lawyers are slamming the U.S. for the double standard that the child protective industry is using when dealing with adoptive parents who abuse their adopted Russian children. And the government of Sri Lanka says that the country's child soldiers have been freed. In Canada, a judge rules that the foster care system failed a young disabled girl named Samantha Martin by not feeding her properly and failing to provide her with the necessary medical attention that she needed. The United Church of Canada is poised to set up a task force to investigate their role in forced adoption practices of the past. A story reveals child abuse and systematic racism at the Nova Scotia Home for Colored Children, and Manitoba launches a new website aimed at matching potential foster parents with kids who they're warehousing in hotels. In Australia, a sperm donor father wins custody of his daughter, and the Tasmanian Premier apologizes to thousands for their past forced adoption policies. In England, the Bristol Children's Hospital is being investigated after 3 couples raised concerns after their children died there. British foster kids are running away left and right because they're feeling scared while in care and not being listened to. A British social worker is suspended for letting her work slip way below the required standards, but that suspension is lifted due to all the delays. A British couple wants their kids back 5 years after being falsely convicted of shaking a baby after new medical evidence finds that the kid's injuries was caused by a traumatic birth. A mother goes on the run with her 4 kids after losing a custody battle with their Spanish father. A British MP warns the Birmingham City Council that they need to turn around their failing child welfare system. And a British foster kid sets her bedroom on fire. In entertainment news this week, the child protective industry drops their case on the porn star The Octomom, which causes the great feminist lawyer Gloria Allred to go off complaining that CPS agents aren't doing enough to protect those kids. But it does give The Octomom the opportunity to sue the ex-nannies who falsely accused her of child neglect and sexual abuse. Dr. Phil has the former adoptive parents of a young Native American girl who was given back to her real father and bashes the Indian Child Welfare Act, which sparks a move on Facebook to boycott the show. And the BBC covered up child abuse claims against broadcaster Jimmy Savile because he was friends with Prince Charles. In California, a couple who ran a strip club is arrested for sexually and physically abusing their adopted children after a dead body turned up on their front yard. The director of a Northern California hospital that treats child molesters is accused of raping a foster foster child. And a former Sacramento school teacher and foster parent gets 18 years for sex crimes, including molesting a 7-year-old boy, sending sexual text messages to a 14-year-old student, and possessing child pornography. In Oklahoma, a foster mother is allowed to collect $1 million in insurance money after a baby in her care died from choking on her own mucus whilst covered in feces and cockroach bites. In Connecticut, a doctor is fined $1,000 and gets 6 months probation on her medical license for making a false report to the child protective industry. In Arizona, a foster father is arrested after leaving the scene of a serious car accident when he still had 2 kids in the car. And the Daily Wildcat from the University of Arizona apologized for publishing an anti-gay cartoon that depicts child abuse. In North Carolina, a father who got a special visa to fight for his kids after they were thrown into foster care while he was deported was generously granted visits with his kids but not his parental rights. In California, a mother was arrested for snatching her kid back from foster care during a supervised visit. In Illinois, mother gets 30 months probation for attempting to rescue her kids from foster care. In Ohio, police are fearing for the safety of a teenager who may have ran off with her foster father. Another ethics complaint is filed against a West Virginia family court judge. And finally, tonight in Tennessee, a father who was tricked into paying child support by his ex-wife for a kid that wasn't his will be able to sue to recover the money. For these stories and all the latest dirt on the child protective industry, visit www.legallykidnapped.com. And until next week, this is Baby LK, over and out.